Final Gravity. Block 1, Plato 2. We've made it to the second episode of Season 2. I'm excited about.
Deuces.
Outstanding.
Thank you, everybody, for all your support, the millions of dollars that rolled in, the letters, the emails, the friends. That we couldn't have done Season 2 without that. Josh and I are flush as we've ever been. And
it's really nice. You know, when I'm unemployed from bartending, this is a really good way to sustain my lifestyle.
Well, I didn't even get to do like the whole intro part about like this being Final Gravity, a podcast about beer life, friends existing on planet Earth.
It's about money. We'd be rolling in the ducats.
God damn it, Scrooge McDuck. Scrooge
Hunted,
McDuckets.
son.
You got a vault with change in it that you swim in.
Okay, first of all, that's amazing that they thought like those coins wouldn't move if it was a giant pile of metal. It doesn't act like water all of a sudden. Let's just get that out of the way.
You would splat.
Oh
hard.
my god, it would be so painful
It's
to
the
watch.
cartoon version of the ending of Titanic. Like there was enough room on that door for two people, dude. Straight up. I just gotta remind everybody there's enough room
I'm pretty
on that
sure
door.
there's enough square footage on that floating door to support two people, you selfish bitch.
Mythbusters proved it. Jack didn't have to die.
We honestly have not made a dime from this. I write myself a check out of my own account for this podcast every week to make it worth it to me.
Enjoy Everyday sponsors
and
me
sometimes
to be on
they
this shit,
bounce.
so I'm just paying myself.
Sometimes they do not go through.
Sometimes they bounce. Writing checks your ass can't cash. Oh man,
I don't actually like this hat. Enjoy Every Day just pays me to wear it on every podcast episode. So
that's sick.
How'd you
get
sponsored? What? I
I
can't
know
even
the
form
owner of
words.
Enjoy Every Day really well. He's super nice. But so he pays me to wear his.
Really,
gear
I heard
on the
that guy was a
episodes.
dick.
Yeah, as long as he's not too drunk, you know. He's
Super
okay.
negative all the time. Just give me my money. Wear my clothes. Well, fantastic start to this. Yeah, off to a rolling start. We're just roaring. God damn it. Oh, shit. Well, last episode we talked about, we had our first tasting of Season 2. We got down on some Jubilee and some Celebration and some blend that none of y'all liked, which is cool. That's fine.
That keeps us honest right there. I didn't like it.
You know, that's fine. I don't care. Whatever. I'll enjoy the muddled mess that it is. I don't give a shit. But tonight, we're going to move on to probably a little bit just light conversation. Holidays are coming up. I mean, we just had one of the more major holidays of the year just past last week and a half ago, whatever, depending on when you're listening to this. Next big holiday's coming up. Christmas. And
we banned my mom from playing Christmas music until the day after Thanksgiving, so the house has been flush with the holiday music.
That's even too long for me, man. As a kid, no.
We
you
had
get
a rule.
week. You get a week of Christmas music, in my opinion.
It was a compromise.
I'm a Grinch, though.
Growing up, my family had a very specific rule about putting the tree up the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And then thus started the slow work in of Christmas music.
Yeah.
My mom loved watching White Christmas. That was like her shit when it came to Christmas.
Which one's White Christmas?
That's Bing Crosby.
Okay.
And
what's the one with the teacher? Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Is that It's a Wonderful Life?
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe that's what
I was
that is.
confusing those two.
Do you want the moon? I'll throw a lasso around and pull it down for you.
My parents always, me too, the Christmas Story, that's always just been a classic in this house.
The Christmas Story is
Christmas
a
Story.
classic.
Oh, fudge.
Yeah.
Only I didn't say fudge.
So good. The day after Thanksgiving is commonly reserved for me for my first watching, which will usually be in double digits for the season, of Christmas Vacation, National Lampoons.
Nice.
That's a good one.
That's
Nice.
That's kind of...
And I don't care what anybody says, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie. The subsequent Die Hards are not. But
the original Hans Gruber.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that is a
Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Deadpool is a love story.
You fucking ain't right.
Simple facts.
Mm-hmm. That's the way that works.
Fully agree.
I fully agree. I'm well on board with that. But since we got into some of those seasonal light beer or seasonal dark beers last week, on my way up here, I went and grabbed the fucking faceplant Doppelweizen from Bayern here in Montana because this shit is delicious. This is, one of my favorite go-to winter beers outside of the two that we drank last week.
Oh, yeah.
That is, I drank my fair share of faceplant when I was out in Montana, like a lot of faceplant. I also had quite a few faceplants when I was skiing.
I was going to say, I've done my fair share of faceplanting on this
mountain at 7.5%, this thing drinks super fucking easy, and it will live up to its name. You will faceplant at some point in the evening if you drink too many of these, in my opinion.
It's Bayern is one of the oldest breweries in Montana, if not the. I don't actually have that stat, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty close. And it specializes in and does a very, very good job of classic continental style lagers. And this beer is no doubt
Bayern outside of Draftworks is probably one of my favorite Montana breweries.
Is it? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They do a crusher on all their lagers. Doppelweizen double wheat lager, dark wheat lager.
Their Doppelbock lager.
But they do a lot of obscure styles that ain't brewed anymore. And this is very. I'm sharing one of the. I'm drinking. Well, I'm not sharing COVID, but I'm drinking one of these as well, and it's super tasty. Super smooth, and I didn't even look, but you would not guess that's 7.5%.
No, it's so smooth.
And I did just look it up, actually. Bayern, it is the oldest microbrewery operating in Montana, founded in 1987. And their whole goal and whole thing is that they specialize in authentic German beers. So like you were saying, a lot of styles that just aren't brewed around here.
Maybe I have to move to Missoula and go work for Bayern.
Maybe you should.
Maybe you should. There's no doubt that from there.
Not only do they brew great lagers, they're very good as a packaging brewery, which we've talked about in other episodes how difficult that is. But their product, when it gets to you, you can pretty much always expect a very high level of consistency and precision in their beers. So
for the size of brewery that they are, they have like packaging that's comparable to the bigger dogs, like some of the bigger dogs. Mm-hmm.
Josh, what are you sipping on?
I spent about 20 minutes standing in the liquor store staring at the beer shelf, trying to decide what winter ale I wanted to take home today.
Were you high?
And then you bought whiskey.
I ended up taking Hopworks, their Abominable winter ale.
That's a good one. We can't get that out here. I missed that beer. Thank you for branding that out for everybody.
It's one this is the first time I've had it in 2 years.
I've seen that one out here.
Have you? Do we get Abominable out here?
Yeah, that's Hubworks, right?
Hopworks,
yeah. I've seen that in Bricks and Kalispell.
Yeah. I don't make it down to the Cali in the wintertime enough. But that's good. That's good they have that. That's rad.
Anyway, sorry we interrupted you, Josh.
Oh, yeah, no worries. No, I was looking at the last two winter seasons. I've spent my time drinking more local Montana winter ales, and actually the one you're drinking on right now was one of my favorites out there. But this is one that I used to drink all the time. Every winter I'd pick up a handful of 6-packs throughout the season, and definitely a beer that I've always loved, and I haven't had it in a few years because I haven't really had the opportunity to. So, I saw it sitting on the shelf, and I decided that one needs to come home with me tonight.
Nice.
Be enjoyed thoroughly.
Nice.
Good
yeah,
pick.
that's a
good pick.
I mean, Hopworks Urban Brewery is a fantastic brewery in the Portland area, and that's a damn good beer. That's one of their original flagshipies, if you will. That's something they do every year, and it's super tasty, super fun to drink in the wintertime.
And it's another one of those. This is a 7.3%, and I would not guess that sipping on it.
Yeah.
Drinks a lot closer to like a.
It's more of like a winter warmer though, right? Or like a kind of
I was just gonna make that same comment.
Ale.
Yeah, you got more of the more of that kind of caramel, coming out, kind of like not too dissimilar from the Jubile Ale that we were drinking last week.
For sure. It's definitely Hub's
a little less
Jubile
bitter than the Jubile Ale
Yeah,
was.
okay.
Agreed.
A little bit of that caramelness, a little bit of citrus coming through on it.
Cool.
Just a nice.
A little bit of a sitch. You got a situation happening. A little bit of a sitch.
Little situation. A little citrus situation coming through on this beer.
Well, I mean, if it's any bit less bitter than the Jubile Ale that we had last week, that's probably delicious then.
A little less bitter, a little more citrusy, but it's a very, very tasty beer. I'm a huge fan of it.
This face plant is just, it's just so
it's going down
good.
smooth. It's going
down
really
too
smooth.
fast.
I think
it's good.
if I walk into any store to buy beer in Oregon, there's kind of 3 winter ales that I always have a hard time deciding between which one I want to grab on the shelf. It's a little easier this time around because I saw this one first, and one of the other 2 isn't out yet. So, that makes it easy. But it's this one. The Red Chair from Deschutes is one of my all-time favorite beers. So I always get excited when that one comes out. That's one of their winter seasonals. And then the Pray for Snow from 10 Barrel. It's much more like a spiced, sweeter beer. But it's one of their winter seasonals that's out this time of year. And I do love that beer a lot.
I love it. I shun them too much for the AB InBev deal, but it's a damn good beer.
What did I have the other day? It was some. I don't know. Maybe it was a Hub, but it was their Spruce Ale. No, it wasn't from Hub.
From. You're thinking of the Spruce Tip IPA from
not from Upslope. This was a different company.
Oh, okay.
It's not the Spruce Tip IPA from Upslope. While that is a fantastic beer, I have to go back and find the can from this beer because the spruce that they put in it was just so delicate, like perfect. Like Spruce Tip, I feel like is very.
It's very spruce forward. Like it's
it's pungent.
Yeah,
it's
really
pungent.
Not even pungent. It's just it's almost like magnified when you drink it.
Sure.
Like if you smell spruce tips, it's like they smell really good, but when you drink them, it's like magnified.
Right.
It's very much a hit of spruce. It's like, here I am.
So my thinking is that I will find this spruce beer again, and I will bring it up or put it in the show notes for this podcast or whatever. But when I find it again, it has such a delicate layer in of the spruce that you don't actually pick up until you've like swallowed the beer and given it a minute to like chill out on your tongue.
That's how Grandma died.
Oh man, it's been so long since we've had that joke on this show. Wow, phrasing.
That was good. That was good for me.
I'm intrigued though. I'm actually expecting sometime soon a shipment of a Spruce Tip IPA from my friend out in Colorado because you can't get Upslope here in Oregon, but she's sending me a 6-pack.
That is
nice.
That is a tasty beverage.
That is a tasty beverage. One of the people that I work with tried this beer with me, and they were just like they were worried about the amount of spruce that was actually going to be forward in it, but they were like, and they're not real big beer drinkers, but they were like, this is actually really well like balanced because it had like there's like that, like I said, a very delicate spruce tone to it, but there was like this fruity, like floral, like Hawaiian type of feel to the rest of the flavors in it that lent themselves so well to like that very delicate spruce taste. It was good. I want to find that and send you guys.
I'm very intrigued to know what beer you're talking about, so I can try to drink it.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so good.
Sounds tasty.
There's a Ben Brewing Company out here. They recently came out with their Snowed In, which was a collaboration with Snowplanks, which is a local ski and snowboard manufacturer. But it's a pine IPA, so you get that pininess to it instead of the spruce notes, which is
nice.
very well balanced.
Spruce, any of those things, reaching out to home brewers or other brewers who might be listening. I know we're big in the brewing community. We got like 5,000 breweries following us right now. Something like that. It's pretty incredible.
Only 5,000? I thought we were getting closer to 10.
I'm sure you're right.
I'm pretty sure every small brewery in the U.S. follows us.
Okay, well that's fantastic. That's over 6,000. That's fucking wonderful.
Yeah, it's
the deft hand with those kind of ingredients, the very delicate touch is really what usually turns either a good beer into great or a great beer into way too much. It's these are ingredients that function that change based upon when you harvest them, where you find them, how you use them. So delicately lit. It's always a bummer when you see. It could be a spruce beer. It could also be a beer with herbs or a gruit or anything like that. And you taste it and you have high hopes for it, and it's pretty overwhelming. Versus when you taste it and it's just like creeps in and shows you what these things can do.
It was deliciously balanced.
That's dope. That's really cool.
It was, like I said, like you got a lot of like that. It was almost like melon and like hibiscus, kind of like florally, fruity type of feels to this beer initially, and then as it mellowed out, that underlying spruce came in and just added a little bit of tang to everything, and I was like, this is just a very beautifully balanced beer. I was just like, wow, this is like, and everyone that tried it with me, they were like, holy crap, and I was like, now this is a balanced beer. This is how you artistically balance flavors in beer.
We got to get that name of that. We got to plug that name on the show.
I will find the beer. I will find it.
Let us know. We'll throw it up on the Instagram page or something.
And it's a brewery that, from what I remember, I don't think I've seen before, which is why I can't recall it off the top of my head.
Speaking to CJ's point about how easy it is to overdo that, about 2.5, 3 years ago, my brother and I made a batch of mead that we went outside to one of the local pine trees and picked a bunch of needles off and just threw them in the carboy as the mead fermented.
I mean, yeah, that's how that works.
Whoops. It was so over the top piney, but the saving grace was it was also really, really strong. So after about a half a pint of it, you weren't really tasting the pine anymore.
you got to lessen the ratio of the pine in the fermentation process.
Or age the mead longer, or introduce.
Just boil the pine in and pull it out before you ferment it.
There's just everything you change, everything that a process changes really does affect the flavor of these kind of beverages. So,
and that's what I mentioned about that spruce beer was that like it was so subtle that it must have been just like thrown in at Whirlpool, or because if it were biotransformed or thrown on secondary, there would have been probably a much more present flavor of it.
Yeah.
But if it was thrown in like the last 3 minutes of a Whirlpool, just to get a little bit of extraction out of it, I don't know what these guys did for the process. And I swear to God, when I find the beer, I'm gonna actually look up and find out what they did, because it's so good.
Right on.
It's so good.
Right on.
I kind of alluded to my 3 favorites a little bit ago, but I am curious what your guys' favorite go-to, you see it on the shelf and you grab it, winter seasonal beers are. I said mine, Abominable, Red Chair, and Pray for Snow, but curious what your guys' go-to winter selection is.
Red Chair is definitely at the top. In the top 3 for me. The faceplant from Bayern, and I can't really think of a third off the top of my head. CJ, what do you got? What are your grabbing?
It's definitely changed since moving out here from Portland. Again, the beer selection's different. I can honestly say that my beer drinking habits do change in the wintertime from more vibrant IPAs and lighter beers and things like that in the summer to dark in the fall and in the winter.
That's delicious.
I definitely start reaching for porters and stouts a lot more, and we've been on this podcast and the previous podcast, the grandfather of this podcast, before talking about Black Beet Porter. So every winter, I probably got to pull down a 6-pack of that. And I don't mean to stroke Deschutes too hard, but Jubilee is, I believe it is different every year. I've never had it be the same every year.
No.
So
Jubilee, Red Chair, all those.
So I
Pine Drops
tend to change.
You know, I scooch into that shit.
There's another one. I don't know if Pine Drops is a regular one, but Pine Drops
that's their spring release.
Oh my god, it's like
that's a good fucking beer.
I will always, as I've drank and grown, I've personally left the Sierra Nevada train a little bit, not because they're bad beer, but because it's almost because the consistency is so overwhelming. I know what I'm going to get each time. But we had the celebration, which I always want to try once a year. I honestly start really reaching for more of those bearskin rug beers, as I call them, that usually exist in 22s or 750s. Big Belgian quads,
like
big
Ivan
imperial stouts, Ivan the Terrible. Yeah.
Those,
This is one of those times a year where I don't necessarily treat myself to a 6-pack as much as I treat myself to one beer.
Yeah, something from like Omegang or big. Red Hand or
yeah. Left Hand Brewing Company, Omegang, Allagash. I'm just quoting what we can get in Montana, and again, we are limited. But I don't bottle you brought us last year in the summertime?
Do you remember? Because you were super excited about this when he brought it.
The Ale Apothecary.
Yeah.
And, the one that they did in collaboration with the place that you used to work.
Culmination.
The Culmination Ale Apothecary. That was super exciting, yeah.
That was really
even
good
if they're lighter style, I start reaching for just those big beers where I kind of want to curl up with them for a hot second.
Oh, yeah.
And rather than crush them in the sunshine, I'm like, yo, we got the heat on, we got the fire on. Smoke a little cigar and just sip. Beer becomes a lot more like wine for me in the wintertime, where it's like even with simple porters and stouts like we've switched to now, like it's just one of those things of like I just kind of want to curl up with it like a book and like think about it for a hot second. It becomes less of a, I don't want to say chore, but like it's
like winter warmers, exactly what you're talking about. Like I want to sit on a bearskin rug naked next to a fire.
We're not going to get unclothed tonight, by the way. It's too cold up here in the mountains.
I wasn't saying with you.
I'm just saying. Maybe the audience thought that was an option. I'm knocking it out.
I love being the big spoon, by the way. I'm just gonna point. I don't care if I'm the little guy.
I promise you that's not gonna work.
I like being the big spoon.
That's the thing.
I think my beer consumption kind of goes in two different directions. Now that you're saying that, coming into the wintertime, like wintertime, I do reach for those heavier, darker, more malty beers generally. But I also tend to drink a lot more light beers in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Like your PBRs and Rainiers and Kokanees and shit like that.
I mean, those are hill beers for me. Those are ski beers.
It's way easier to drink beer all day when you're skiing, when you're drinking 4% beer. Than,
I can't.
I'm not taking up a fucking 6-pack of RPM and drinking that when I'm skiing.
But when I'm home and when
I
I've gotten
drink
off the hill,
and ski or snowboard. Like my legs turn into fucking rubber.
Yeah, no, we've had this conversation. You smoke and ski. I drink and ski.
I can smoke and ski.
Do both.
I cannot drink and ski. Like something happens at some point after I've had like the third or fourth beer where I can no longer hold my heel side edge and I'm no longer having fun.
Yeah.
So I just like everything is just bouncy and my legs don't want to respond the way I want them to. I would rather just like take a giant fucking dab hit and then go snowboarding because I'm going to be like, I don't even give a fuck if I fall, but I'm still like, I'm not incapable. Like when I get drunk, I get incapable of controlling my limbs individually. So it doesn't work out well. But when I get super high and I'm just like in that zone, I'm just like everything just works so much more fluidly together.
The big issue for me when I drink and ski is I know I'll know I have overdone it when I stop speed checking things. The issue is I won't know that until I have stopped speed checking things. So
right.
It's that moment when you're launching off a 50-foot booter and you're still going up as the knuckle passes under you and the slope starts falling away. And you're like, wow, I went
Josh
way
is
too
about to
fast
fucking
off of
bottom
that.
out.
This is going to hurt.
He's going to case it.
That's when I know. I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to stop drinking. About 2 runs ago. Because
it's good that you have limits like that, strict boundaries that keep you safe.
That's why I can have a beer, maybe a second when I snowboard.
Yeah.
But for the majority of my experience, I need to be just high as balls.
I prefer the stone snowboarding, but I always bring up a couple somethings. Usually in the wintertime, peepers and over the mountain. But going back to it, and
bring up some bangers too
to provide that counterbalance. This winter, if you're looking for something to drink that maybe is outside your wheelhouse, wintertime is a good time to pull out Belgian doubles. It's a good time to pull out Imperial Stouts. It's a good time to pull out those, if you've not had a West Mall Trappist Ale, fucking do it this winter. Plug other breweries. If you have not had a St. Bernardus 8-year, it's time to pull
I will do
dude.
that, but I don't need to do that on the slopes.
No. We're back to the bearskin rug now.
Okay. I'm back in the bearskin rug in my castle.
Yep,
okay.
Yep.
All right.
You're safe now. You're in your home space.
You come down from the mountain. You just finished a day up with the homies. You were stoned as fuck, but you're starting to come down from that high.
And I'm just naked in the bearskin rug.
That's a good way. That's a good way to round out that part of the conversation. Is that we've talked about our favorites, but if you had one beer, you just were on the hill, you just had a fucking great day. Great fucking day. And you hit home, and you only need one. You just need one to round out the day. What do you grab for? Because as much as we... Yeah. Really? Really? You're going to... that's... Sorry, Kettle House. You do a lot of good things, but that's not your best beer. I'm sorry. I'll fucking hit... I'll punch that shit in the liver every goddamn day.
I knew saying Kettle House would immediately screech halt
you didn't say Kettle House. You said Cold Smoke.
Saying Cold Smoke would screech halt the conversation. Be like, what did you just say to me?
The funny part about that, I don't know if you know this.
I do not understand your fascination with this beer.
No.
Oh, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it on this podcast. You can cut it out if you want later. But Montanans, I don't understand your fealty to Cold Smoke.
CJ, I don't know if you know this.
That was a very sarcastic joke.
Cold Smoke was actually part of the reason I moved to Montana.
Was it really? All right, now wait.
Let me ask you this: Cold Smoke the beer, or Cold Smoke the snow? Because there is a version of snow that falls from the sky that people call Cold Smoke.
No, the answer to that question is yes. No, I don't. Yeah, CJ, I know I've told Thomas this. You might have been stoned as fuck at the time, but
probably
I don't think I've ever told you, CJ. I might have told you too. I don't know.
I might have been stoned as fuck at the time. Who knows?
But
more than likely, one or both of us.
The season before I moved to Montana, we went out there on a ski trip. It was me, my brothers, my dad, a couple of his old ski buddies from high school and stuff. And we picked up, a case of Cold Smoke one day on our way back to the hotel and started drinking it. And we all just loved Cold Smoke. I don't know what it was about it, that smokiness or what, but fucking loved Cold Smoke. And then we even brought a couple cases of it back with us from Montana. And just in pursuing beer out there, the first place I stopped as I was coming into Montana before I even got to Whitefish, the St. Regis Travel Center, picked myself up a couple cases of Cold Smoke. So then that night I could have my Cold Smoke to drink when I was sleeping in my trailer with no idea where I was going to be sleeping the next day.
How much do you like Cold Smoke now?
I haven't had a Cold Smoke in probably about at least a year.
Okay.
Josh, I imagine Cold Smoke to be a lot like RPM, right? Like there was probably a time when Cold Smoke was so fucking good and so revolutionary that it was like, just mind blown, right? But then it gets so good and you have to upgrade it and you have to fill more tanks and bigger tanks and make more beer. And inevitably, unless you're Firestone Walker and Matt Brindleson, who can seemingly upgrade any of his beers and still fucking just nail them, inevitably when you make more of it than your system is really capable of doing appropriately, the quality drops a little bit. And for me, when I got into town and kind of made it known that I'm a beer person and I want to be in beer and I want to be a brewer out here in Montana, everybody's like, have you tried Cold Smoke? And so I tried Cold Smoke. And my overall opinion of it was very underwhelming. And this is I'm not here to bash Kettle House. I'm not here to bash that beer. But like when you get it all hyped up, right? When someone's like, "Man, you got to go see this fucking movie. You got to go see it." And you go see it and you're like, "Okay, like it's a rom-com. It's not that big of a fucking deal. Like that's fine."
I had someone tell me that about Reservoir Dogs. I mean, I'm sorry. Let me say that the other way. I told someone about Reservoir Dogs, and they came back and they're like, "I don't get it."
I don't get it.
Yeah,
That was me for Cold Smoke. I didn't get it.
Well,
I didn't get the hype.
So I can understand like certain Montanans from that angle. Like, what do you mean you don't get it? Sure. But I'm not obviously questioning what you don't get about it because I'm in the same boat that you are. I was just making it very sarcastically.
I would have to guess, based on your experience versus my experience, right? You came to Montana and people hyped it up and told you that you had to try it.
Oh,
so then you tried it, but it didn't quite live up to all this amazing things they made it out to be. Whereas I came from Bend to Montana without a single person telling me to try it. We just happened to grab it off the store shelf.
Experience.
And so then when we tasted it, it was just a pure, original, uninformed reaction to a beer that, to be honest, there's not really anything that tastes like it in Bend. It was just something different.
Yeah.
We got stoked on it because it was just this new, different thing. But yeah, like I said, I haven't had it. I haven't even looked at it in like a year because there's so many better beers in Montana. And after I was there for like a couple of weeks, I totally drank myself out of that hype of it. And I was like, okay, I need to move on from this. But you also get those people that fall into their ruts like RPM and Bend, where it was originally this amazing, different, better IPA.
Right.
And now it's just overhyped.
Like original RPM is literally like the equivalent of getting in on cellular technology in the stock market versus beer. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you were drinking RPM back before it was being brewed into 240 barrel fermenters, you were drinking one of the freshest, dankest, most Portland West Coast IPAs you could fucking create. Yep. So goddamn
And it was
good.
right on that as IPAs were taking off too. It was on the cutting edge.
It was up there. And it's not to say that it's not still good now, but if you've had RPM back in the day from Boneyard Brewing Company and you have RPM now, they are not the same
Significantly different beers.
Significantly different beers. And that's is the kind of juxtaposition of the brewing community, really, is that the more that you make, you start to kind of lose that luster from a lot of different things. One, if you can get it all the time, it's not that sexy anymore. And two, you just can't source that much of the same high-quality raw materials to make those bigger batches work out.
Yeah.
So I have to imagine I want to imagine, because I think Kettle House is a great brewery, that's kind of what happened with Cold Smoke, is that it became such a fundamental Montana drink that it's just like, I mean, for me, it was like, really?
I guess my Cold Smoke joke threw us on a really hard tangent there.
It sure did.
It really, absolutely did.
You're the moderator. You're supposed to keep us all under control.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of being the moderator is I can cause chaos when need be.
What was the question? The question was, if I'm driving down from the mountain, I finished my day of skiing, what beer am I
if you can only have one bottle or can of beer at the end of a cold winter night after a goddamn good day on the hill, what is it? That's a really I know it's a really tough question. You can be broad in your answer and say, I just need a really good barrel-aged stout, or you can say, you know what, fuck it, this is the beer that I have to have.
You know, if I was coming down from Mount Bachelor, because our opening day is Monday, right? So Monday, I'm going to go up, I'm going to go skiing, and on my way down, there is a ridiculously high chance I'm stopping at Monkless.
Oh, you lucky bastard that you have Monkless there. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm swinging into Monkless, and I'm getting myself a fresh poured pint or snifter of their Double or Nothing, Belgian Double style ale.
Yep.
Because that is just a nice, dark, malty, rich, flavorful Double, but it just fucking warms your bones. So once you've been up in the snow all day, it's that pint of that, sitting out on their back patio, watching the sunset over the Deschutes. It's gonna be a good day.
I'm gonna throw it back to like after like if it's Friday, I've had a hell of a week. I just got done riding. I want to relax, but I'm back on my bearskin rug, naked in front of the fucking fireplace. I gotta reach for a quad.
Belgian quad.
I gotta reach for a Belgian quad.
There's two Belgian votes right here, which I think is great, and I think it's very interesting because I will say that first of all, Monkless is a brewery in Oregon that specializes in Trappist-style ales and barrel aging. Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. And they have won GABF awards. They kill it. They do great. So I got to imagine. I've never had Monkless's double.
Todd and Robin, the owners of Monkless, two really amazing people. We met them when they first opened up while they were selling themselves around town. We went and did a little J-Dub kind of collaboration thing with them. Or we, brought them on board. We went and checked out their brewery and stuff. Todd, it's him and his wife that own it, but he used to be a chemist, and he spent some time working in Germany as a chemist.
No wonder he's good at making beer.
He's good.
Yep. He fell in love with traditional, authentic Belgian style ales, basically, and when he came back to Bend, which is supposedly one of the best beer cities in the United States, if not the world. He couldn't find a Belgian that he actually loved. And he decided, well, fuck it. I know chemistry. I can make this. I can make beer that I like. So he just started making Belgian ales.
Love that.
This is why I want to make German beer in Montana.
Yeah.
For that exact reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where they started, and then they've just blown up ever since. And now they have this beautiful tap house, kind of overlooking the Deschutes River in the old mill. And they've just done amazing things with the place, and I'm really proud of those guys. Fuck, they make damn good.
They've been knocking out of the park. I mean, they've medaled in GABF, if I'm not mistaken, the last 2 years running.
I wouldn't be surprised if several times.
They're crushing it.
For those that are listening, go check out Monkless.
Monkless and Bend, dude.
Go check out Monkless and Beer.
That's
Bend. Damn.
Well, they have beer too. They're in Bend.
My fucking brain is
really
saying things and my mouth is not doing good. Authentic German food.
Yeah, really good schnitzel. Their spätzle's on point. They make beignets that are fucking to die for, except they give you like 10 of them in an order. It's not 10 actually, but they're huge and overwhelming. But
hey, when COVID's over, you guys want to go to Germany next year?
Well, I'd love that.
I'm so down.
Yeah, I will bring all this stuff, and we can podcast from fucking.
I've got some friends in Heidelberg
from the festival
we could stay in.
Because I don't want to be, cliche American and be like, oh, it's Oktoberfest. No, it's the festival.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got a spot we can stay over in Germany.
It'd be great.
Oh, do you now?
I do, yeah, over in Heidelberg.
Well, real quick, the conversation about the beer has been fantastic, boys, but I want to talk about what your we started initially talking about like the holidays coming up soon, and then we kind of fell off and segued hard. Yeah, of course, we always do. But I want to talk about what you guys normally do for the holidays that are coming up versus what we're actually able to do this year, because nobody's really able to do shit. So yeah, we're going to start talking about our holiday traditions and what each of us, like, I know COVID's crazy, so it's more of a matter of like, what do you remember about this time of year that gets you excited about it? Like for me, I remember when I was a kid, we would all load up into my parents' car and drive down to my aunt's house in Virginia, where it would be me, my sister, my mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, my 3 cousins, my grandparents, possibly my uncle. Like, there was all of us that just like convened on this house for like probably I would say like 3-4 days. 3 or 4 days.
Feels like the traditional shit show holiday movie.
Oh yeah, dude.
Family,
oh yeah,
kids running everywhere.
there were kids running everywhere, and for a while, I was the youngest of the grandkids. So it was like my 3 cousins, my sister, and then me. So I was always the youngest. So when Vinny and Mike and Dina and my sister Teresa were all like college aged or in college or out of college by that point, because like I said, I was much younger than them, I was only like 12 or 13 years old. So
Okay.
they would go off and do their thing, and I would be left at the house with all the adults. And I shit you not, I would go into my aunt's basement. My aunt had this huge house in Virginia, in Fairfax. And I would go into the basement and play with all of my cousins' old toys from their childhood. So like there were just boxes and boxes of like GI Joe and Star Wars and all this other shit like that they had just kept over the years. And I would just go into the basement by myself while the adults were upstairs like drinking and having a good time and everyone else was out. I would just go downstairs and play by myself.
Yeah.
You know, it was a very weird time, but I do remember having so much fun. You know, like in those things like my aunt made such good food for the holidays. What an amazing cook. Like she made this whole spread for dinner and this massive breakfast spread that was there was like casseroles and waffles and pancakes and bacon and like egg casseroles and all like hash brown casseroles. Like it was fucking insane the amount of food that was produced in such a short period of time. And I was raised in a very heavy Irish Roman Catholic house. Um, so my aunt would do, she would have church service on Christmas Eve at her house. And my uncle would DJ the whole thing. Like he'd break out all of his equipment and just like throw on whatever he had like for, you know, gospel stuff to like work in like family was friends with a priest that would come over and say service. It was fucking really weird, but awesome at the same time.
Copy.
And he
I dig
also
that.
worked for a large computer company back in the day, NEC, and he had the internet at his house, like good internet at his house. Back in like the 90s when like the internet first hit like
Porn. I know where you're going with this.
no, dude, it wasn't even that. It was fucking Sim City
He
for
did already say he was
days.
playing with
Oh,
himself
yeah,
down in
yeah,
the
the
basement.
games.
So.
Oh yeah,
You know-
it was all about fucking Sim City.
Those old school '90s games are so dope. They
I
were so
played
rad, dude.
so much
fun.
Sim City at that house during like the Christmas stuff. It was awesome. But enough about my shit. Josh, what are the traditions that you remember, and what have they like kind of?
Yeah, did you guys have dial-up or direct cable? What'd you guys have, Josh?
No, not a lot of video games on Christmas Day.
No, just like what do you remember like family traditions growing
Yeah,
up?
no,
Like
we used to always.
what if they like morphed into now that you're like in your mid-20s?
One of the big ones that I remember was a lot. So for a really long time, growing up, I think it was usually Christmas Eve, if not close to it. We would go out with the aunts and uncles and all the cousins and stuff. I'm really lucky. 90% of my family lived in Bend pretty much my entire life. Good chunk of them have kind of moved away now and obviously scattered off a little bit as all the cousins have grown up and moved off to college and to pursue careers and everything. And some of the aunts and uncles have moved away. We know a really large section of my family was always in Bend. So we would, always get together and do Christmas Eve with mom's side of the family and then Christmas with dad's side of the family. And then we'd alternate that the next year. But we always would go sledding on Christmas Eve or the week before Christmas. We get the whole family together and we would just go out and have a day of sledding right before
Nice.
Christmas
That's
Day.
awesome.
That
Hell
was just
yeah.
always a fun one. And then go into the warming hut down at the bottom of the snow park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as we all kind of grew up, we stopped doing the sledding as much, but that kind of morphed into with my family. Me and my brother, regardless of if we were living in an apartment or whatever, we'd always come over Christmas Eve. Just have a little. We might do the family dinner Christmas Eve still, but we'd come over and spend the night at mom and dad's house. So the next morning, my dad would always make a pretty much every year very similar breakfast spread with some old recipes that grandma used to make on the sailboat that she ran a bed and breakfast on back in the day. And then, different eggs and meats and potatoes and everything.
Hell yeah.
We just kind of hang out and open maybe a couple presents, stocking stuffers type stuff, but we weren't growing up like in more recent years. We haven't been a huge present heavy family. It's more just about the time. So then after opening a couple presents, we'd usually try to get up to the mountain and go skiing Christmas Day because it's usually not crowded and it's like the only day during Christmas break that's not. So then spend most of the day up on the mountain skiing, or at least me and my brother would, and then come down and do a big family dinner. And then the last couple years with me being out in Montana, I've still tried to like make a mini version of that breakfast for myself and then go skiing. And
I remember when you were living over at the old house with me there, that like you
the
got
Captain's
up and,
Crunch.
Yeah, the Captain Crunch breakfast, and then you brought some into the house and you like left. So it's like I usually make this for like. Like my family usually makes this stuff, and I had some leftover. So if you guys want it, like have at it. And I was just like, this is fucking dope, and it's good shit.
Nice,
it's really good. But then, and there's also usually, especially as me and my brother have gotten older, a couple shots of schnapps in the morning, peppermint schnapps. My parents definitely like that. A little bit of rum in the coffee every year. My grandpa, used to always drink his Captain Morgan, so it's always been kind of part of the tradition. And then skiing all day, coming down to family dinner. The last couple of years, obviously, I was in Montana and not here for it. And this year, it's still going to be a pretty low key thing. It's going to be, mom and dad and me and Tyler probably.
Yeah, hopefully it's been interesting for me too, like moving out here and not being like with my family for Christmas for like almost the last 10 years. Like, I mean, I'll go hang out with my cousin and maybe have like dinner and stuff, but like the whole present exchange type thing fell off like years ago.
Yeah, a lot less of a thing now.
Yeah. What about you, CJ? What do you remember about like holidays growing up?
We, listening to both of you guys talk, I don't think I ever really had much of a quote unquote traditional family in this manner. And that being said, like we'd do things for a couple of years and then all of a sudden for some reason we'd do them different. And that was just kind of my upbringing. There's not a negative or a positive to it, but, from an adult perspective, what I can remember, when I hit the over 21 and I'd come home for Christmas, again, like you guys, I've got a couple years advantage since moving to Montana, but this will probably be, I think, the third Christmas that I haven't been home. Starts out with mimosas in the morning, starts out with some pastries, starts out with some coffee with some Baileys in it. You might be double fisting mimosa and some coffees and some Bailey in it. And it starts out with just it's not a rushed day. When I was a kid, right, like you rushed down to see like what you had under the tree, and like for me,
sitting there over the railing, looking down.
That's not part of it for me anymore. Like honestly, on Christmas, I hope I don't have anything. I just hope that I spend it with good people. Really, truly, like. But honestly, I love that wake up in the morning and like Josh was kind of saying of like, I got a hot black cup of coffee and I got a bottle of rum and a bottle of whiskey. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Well, and that was the thing, like. When we would go down to my aunt's house, like the parents would get up in the middle of the night, and this is honestly how I found out that Santa's not real. Spoilers for all you kids that are listening to this.
Well, he's real, but not what you're told he is. But it's that creepy man that has to register every time he goes to a new town.
Like, what you were talking about, like Christmas Eve, or Josh, you were talking about this too. Christmas Eve, like you get to open up some stocking stuffers.
Oh yeah, stocking stuffers on Christmas Eve.
That's a dope tradition. That's a dope tradition. Yeah, and the adults are drinking hot chocolate. That's all fucking lubed up for them.
Boozed up, peppermint
schnapps, little Baileys, bourbon, whiskey, whatever you wanted. But the next morning, they had piles of presents that were in stacks around the room, and each of those piles were designated for one of the kids. Yeah. So it was like me, my sister, the three cousins, and even like so. My parents went through this whole, or like my family went through this whole ordeal of trying to make it look as much like Santa Claus was there as they could. So they built themselves their own piles of presents too. Mm-hmm. Be like, this is from Santa.
No. My parents were very dedicated to that. Oh, look what you got, Dad. Woo, I didn't get that for you. Blah. The other one was the great.
Look what Santa brought
presents.
for you.
You guys have that too? Like the biggest, best presents were the ones that were unwrapped. That was something my family did. Just realizing, I'd come downstairs and there'd be at least two presents that were just there, that weren't wrapped, weren't bow tied. It was just like, oh, that must have been from Santa. And it's like, it's all the things that I wanted. That every time your mom's like, you're not going to get that.
No, my family built the piles of presents in like pyramids. So like the biggest gifts were on the bottom, and then like all the small stuff or the smaller, they would get smaller and smaller as the pile went up.
Yeah.
So the stuff on top was like baseball cards or like a little handheld this or that or what, like game or whatever.
So you can like build down to the big thing.
Yeah, and then like you would get down to the bottom and have like a massive like Lego set or like a Connect set or like some shit like that.
My parents would kind of try to spread it out through the room, and there'd be like a little designation, but it'd be like, they'd hide the presents from Santa intermixed with everything else. So you're kind of opening them, separately. But then there was always, there was usually like the big thing each year, like specifically to CJ's point of like those unwrapped presents. I remember there was one year, we had just moved into this new house and we were kind of, turned this whole extra room into like the game room where, it was me and my brother's like hangout room. That's where we ended up eventually having our gaming console and our own TV in there. And then like we had a foosball table and stuff eventually, but it was like our like space to hang out besides our bedrooms. But the one year that they were kind of helping us, it was like the presents were basically building out the game room. The Santa present, it was like, looking over the railing in the morning, there was like a couple beanbag chairs next to a foosball table, and they each, they weren't wrapped, but they had like a little bow on it and stuff like that. And it was like, oh, look what Santa left for the game room. Like, and I think part of that was just to satiate me and my brother, because we would not really sleep Christmas Eve, and then we'd be sitting there looking over the railing at things, just wanting to like wake mom and dad up to go down and open them. But the rule was we couldn't open presents till they were awake, but we couldn't wake them up early either.
To open presents,
So I think they left things unwrapped just so we wouldn't be bugging them.
Smart move on their part.
Well, and it's funny because like me and my sister are a little over 6 years apart. So as she got older and I was still young, I was just like, wake up, it's time to fucking open Christmas presents. She's like, go away, I'm hungover.
Fuck off.
Or like when I was down at my aunt's house, like they would send me into my oldest cousin's room to go and wake him up because we weren't allowed to open presents till everyone in the house was awake. And they were like, yeah, go get Mike, who like the 21-year-old college student who's probably hungover and still high from the night before. Mike, I love you, buddy, and I'm sorry I'm giving you a bunch of shit right now. But they were like, yeah, could just go wake Mike up. It'll be fine. Or like my aunt and my uncle had this Scottish Terrier named. They had a few dogs growing up. So there was like Farfel and Fluffy and Max. Farfel. Farfel was a dog's name. I swear to God. Farfel.
Yeah, all of our dogs were named after alcohol. So
Jesus. And then there was Fluffy, who I remember growing up. But there was a dog, Maxwell. He was this black Scottish Terrier that my aunt and uncle had. And as I got older and started sleeping later, they would let the dog into the room to go wake up anyone that was left over. Because as soon as you started to move, the dog attacked your feet. I was like, Max, get the fuck out of here. Go away. But that's just, I don't know. There are so many good memories about the holidays growing up, and from what you guys have said, like you're right on that same page. We all have such good, fond memories of growing up in really involved times. Unlike what we're dealing with right now, where like Christmas is going to be over a Zoom meeting.
Right.
I think
everything is so fucking sideways right now.
The last couple years where I literally moved away. I moved to Montana 2 years ago yesterday. Was when I hooked my trailer up and drove out to Montana.
I gotta pee.
So it was like literally this time of year. It was coming into this holiday season. It was coming into this time of being with family and friends. And I didn't know a single fucking person. I ended up house sitting for a regular at J-Dub who happened to move to Montana at the same time as I did while she went home to her family. And so I dog sat for her and spent my first Christmas in Montana with my friends' dogs and by myself. And then I went skiing and met a couple people at the tap house. And then last year, obviously I knew a lot more people, but I still kind of just got up and made my breakfast and went skiing. But it kind of made me appreciate that a little more because as much as I love the whole family tradition and getting together with that big group of people, it also can be a really overwhelming just having this whole week of obligations and this family gathering and Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas dinner and this and that. And honestly, it was really kind of nice and relieving to be able to wake up, pour myself a shot of schnapps, pour myself a shot of rum, eat my traditional family breakfast in a mini version by myself, call mom and dad up, wish them a happy Christmas, call the grandmas up, call the grandpa up, and then boom, Christmas is done. Not stressful. I'm not having to open all these presents. They kind of roll in the mail over the week leading up to it and after it. I get to go skiing a little bit, have a couple drinks with friends in the evening, and it's way less of an ordeal. It's not like this whole production. It's okay, yep, it's Christmas time. Call the family, tell them that I love them, have a couple shots, make my breakfast, and just relax. It's way more relaxing, which I think I'm kind of looking forward to this year in that I'm back in Bend now, but there's not an expectation of me going to 5 different family events over the course of 3 days. I'll be okay, yeah, I can't because COVID, so I'll call you.
Yeah.
Love you, mean it.
Amen.
Love you, mean it, skiing.
Well, what do you think, boys? Should we wrap this one up here?
I'm ready to hear that fat jam one more time, that's for sure.
Oh, it's coming.
Ooh.
It's
coming.
Grandma
Dad.
Oh.
Got 2 in 1 episode. Let's go.
Oh.
I'll raise the glass.
That's the way it is.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Follow the podcast on Instagram at final.gravity.podcast. I am your host, Cousin T. You can find me on all the social medias at Cousin T, at Final Gravity Podcast, or my other podcast at Nerd Universe. My boy Josh, where can we find you, bro?
At the Viking Peaches on Instagram and the YouTubes if you want to check out my filming and my photography. Obviously, enjoy every day if you want to check out my merchandise and just spread a good message. And on Facebook, you just find me at Josh Saran because that's just where I live.
Ready on. We know you don't have the social needs, CJ, so
you
we're not...
You can't find me. If I want to, I'll find you.
Oh, that's how this works. That's how this works. And if you want to support this podcast, go to patreon.com/Final Gravity Podcast and sign up for one of our tiers. Get some perks, maybe get some merch.
Let's get Cousin T some money for this thing, man. He's working hard. Josh and I got paid.
I'm the only one that has not getting paid for this.
You sign up to Patreon.
This is some bullshit.
I'm rolling in ducats. Fucking greenbacks, dude. It's no problem.
You guys are such douchebags. I fucking hate you both. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Final Gravity Podcast. Again, I am Cousin T with the Viking Peaches and the Groovy Bear CJ. We will catch you next time on Block 3. Maybe we'll talk a little politics. Might get my cousin on. We'll see what happens. Oh my God, that's right. We are post-election, kids. We might get to that next week. Anyway.
Still got a lot of recounts to go, baby. Still got a lot of recounts to go.
Blah, blah, blah. Anyway. All right, we're done here. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.
Later.
Love, peace. Drink good beer. We'll talk to you guys soon.